Hey guys, and welcome to an epic and incredibly close showdown between these two brothers. These two clanmates have found themselves at war against each other. On the left with the Skaven we have Coops, and on the right we have the water's worst nightmare, the coolest of all umbrellas, as the Skaven do go with a full Vanguard build, or almost full Vanguard build, up against the High Elves, who will be defending a large amount of bolt throwers today. Now, the majority of the Skaven is Vanguard. The humans have the Doomslayer, the Skaven have the Doom Flayers, and unfortunately Doom Flayers do not come with Vanguard, but they have Skitterleap instantly popped on them, so at least we can't see them and we can pretend they're in a Vanguarded mode, so we can claim it as a full Vanguard build. It's a very fun and thematic one as well. We have 4 units of Wolf Rats, 2 in the center here, 2 in the distance. We have 2 of each variety, the basic and the poison one, and a nice little skirmish core here up front in the form of double gutter runners with poison and 1 unit of night runner slingers. Now personally, I am not the biggest fan of slings, much prefer the shorter range with bigger damage dealing units. I think they just have so much more punch on the battlefield, though the slings do give you a little bit more variety with that added range, a little bit more flexibility in the kiting potential. For the main battle line, I mean, there's not much of a battle line. It is just 4 units. We have 2 Death Runners and 2 Triads, and we also have the Regiment of Renown in both of them. So Vistran's Death Squad on the far side and Ishka's Triads down here in the center. And I must admit, I love a lot of the mad genius Skaven inventions, but there's nothing quite like their lunatic assassin rat themed builds that really do, I think, take the top spot for me as far as Skaven themes. We already spoke about the Doomflayers in the back, but with a nice hero core next to them. We have an Eshin Sorcerer coming in with Brittle Bones as well as Skitterleap. And I always forget the name of this other spell, but it's really quite good. Armor of Darkness. I always want to call it Doom and Darkness, but Armor of Darkness does give that 20% missile resistance, plus 60 armor is quite nice. We have an Assassin down here, coming with Rival High Talisman and all the usual goodies. And you'd expect in a build like this to see Deathmaster Snickage. Well, you would indeed be wrong. You have been betrayed by Tretch Craven Tail. Are you surprised? It's literally in his name. He's coming in with all of the goodies today. We have the Stay Here, I'll Get Help, which is a fantastically named ability, super funny. We have Verminous Valor, the Lucky Skull Helm, all the goodies in action today. But what are they going to be up against? Well, the High Elves are certainly a rather regimented force, and they're coming in with a bucket ton of spears holding the front line. So a glorious spear wall to try to pin the enemy in place and hold back the tides of the vermin, whilst they have a bucket ton of bolt throws to actually bring the pain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Earclaw bolt throws looking to try to counter mortars, catapults, warp lightning cannons, all the juicy long range that Skaven normally bring. We have Rangers as well in a secondary battle line, backing up the Spearmen. I like this pick. It's a good bit of insurance. If your opponent does go for a rush build just like this, the Rangers can get down and dirty and certainly carve up the enemy. But my favorite part of this build by far is the triple war lines going all through the back, including the Rahaga's Pride, arguably the best looking high elf unit in the entire game. They are fantastic. They look so freaking epic. I love the little leather jerkins they have on as well. Like, I guess it's meant to be armor, 35 armor. I suppose they also have their pelts, which might help them quite a bit. We also have an Archmage of Death up in the sky, so a gloomy Archmage today, coming in with Doom and Darkness, the Spirit Leech, and Fate of Biuna, or Aspect of Dread Knight, sorry, not Doom and Darkness. We then have the Armor of the Stars, Book of Hareth, and Arcane Conduit. Quite a big fan of the Archmages up on the skies on their eagles. They can really be a big pain in the butt. I like to see them on their dragons as well, but unfortunately dragons aren't often picked at the moment. Death Squad is going to clatter into the Spearmen. They should be able to hamstring those Elves with their Weeping Blades and carve through them relatively quickly. And you can see the Wolf Rats just bomb rush straight past the front line and shut down the bolt throwers instantly. One bolt thrower is gone. The other one, though, being protected by the Rangers, is going to be a much harder position for the Wolf Rats to actually overwhelm. Now, this unit has been shattered. These Wolf Rats need to push through and loop up onto the Eagle Claw bolt thrower number 2. The Skirmish is just pouring shots onto the Rangers, a good target. They only have 30 armor and no shields. And now we can see the Doomflayers carving it up High Elf innards as they grind over their corpses, trying their best to take down the Rangers. We do get a big Armor of Darkness go down. That's going to increase the Doomflayers' armor to 174, which is quite ridiculous. They're going to be incredibly tanky indeed. Tried to unfortunately get butchered by Rangers, though the Death Squad should be able to see to them and start to beat them up. We do get a load of lines bounding forward, ripping and tearing with flying teeth and claws, doing some pretty awesome damage there. Yeah, the runners not having a good time, neither are the Triads there, but they should be able to nuke the war line's armor pretty effectively and start to overwhelm them a bit. Doomflayers can now drive into the heart of the enemy battle line. The Wolf Rats did manage to circumvent the enemy and start hopping on top of more bolt throws there. It looks like the war lines have attempted to end their reign of terror, but luckily for them, Tretch Craventail, let's call him Craven Tretchtail there, has managed to pop in on top of the war lines. He does come in with okay stats and anti-large, so he's going to be okay up against units such as this, and the war lines do break before their new master. We all get some spells popped left, right, and center by the Archmage of Death, who's now desperately trying to hunt down the Doomflayers. Not a bad target whatsoever. She should, with that mighty beak, be able to crack open the skull of the Skaven riding on top of the Doomflayers and really bring them low. And it looks like the Doomflayers are actually wavering quite badly, though there are Wolf Rats nearby who might be able to swoop over and support, though it looks like it'd be a little bit too little too late. More bolt throws going down. The Spearmen desperately trying to hold back the enemy leadership. In the main fight, though, the High Elves have started to punch through rather effectively. Rangers and Spearmen driving at the heart of the Skaven force. We do have some of the Triads down here. More are on the warpath coming back, and they're doing a good job holding back just an insane amount of High Elves. They need the Doomflayers and Wolf Rats, though, really to rear charge this position so the Triads can escape with their lives, because though they are more elite and badass than the High Elves here, they themselves are getting surrounded by the Rangers, and there's simply too many numbers for them to deal with. Gutter Runners and Night Runners will be able to fall back and kite the Spearmen into the Infinity Realm, which is quite nice. The Death Squad has up to 101 kills, so slowly dragging down the war lines, but a mixture of war lines, Rangers, as well as Rahagra's Pride is causing all kinds of problems now for this Skaven force in the center. We also have more war lines who can come back. Now, one thing that's going really good, though, for the Skaven is their leadership core is very, very strong still. You can see them in the distance driving away the Spearmen, and the Archmage is massively away from the battlefield. Likewise, there's basically nothing left to catch the Gutter Runners and Night Runners. The war lines are simply too beat up and too far away, so the Spearmen and Rangers are going to take considerable damage here as they do push in. We get a lovely mighty roar there brought in by the war lines. It's going to be enough to break the leadership of the Death Runners. They should be able to run them down and overwhelm them. Rahagra's Pride up to 49 kills, which certainly isn't too bad work, and we can see the Triads unfortunately went down there. Only 8 models left. Somehow they've not shattered those, so maybe they can come back. And if you've even got one Triad, it still can be useful due to that effect they can bring with their Weeping Blades. It looks like, unfortunately, Gut Runners were caught here by the War Lines. Lovely play there by the High Elf player. Big fan of Lines in this matchup, and in general, they're very cool. Triads getting forced off, and it does look like the High Elves in a relatively solid position, but then you look in the distance, and you see there's a full health Assassin, full health Tretch Craventail, and basically a full health Eshin Sorcerer, and all of a sudden you're thinking, is this actually that good a position for the High Elves? I guess only time will tell. You can see the Archmage of Death has floated out here, trying to pin in the Night Runners. This is a very risky play. Archmages only have 30 armor. If they take 1 or 2 big volleys, they're going to be in all kinds of problems. Now, it's not so much of a problem with these Gut Runners here because they have no ammunition left, but if the Night Runners are able to kite back effectively and whip some shots into the Archmage, it's going to be very scary. Now, we can see Aspect of the Dread Knight was popped on the Archmage to give them that terror and hopefully be enough to tear out the Night Runners, but it looks like at least for now they are currently fine. In the main fight, Rangers are carving their way through Wolf Rats with the help of the War Lines, who have once again pinned the enemy in place. There's been some really nice pins today so far from the High Elves. And down here in the main fight, we do get the Rangers trying to slice and dice where possible, but a lovely Verminous Valor chucks them in all directions, and only one mighty rat is left standing there, Tretch, as he does decide to, kind of fall back and retreat a little bit there. We have an Armor of Darkness go down. It was overcast, therefore making it Air of Effect, which is really going to help buffing up these characters, particularly as the line come in after Tretch. Now, if they had that large roar left, the mighty roar, they could have broken Tretch there, but it looks like he is going to be able to stabilize, though he does get sent absolutely flying as Rahagra's Pride do bound after him. It looks like we are going to be getting a Stand or Die go down and a Rival Hide Talisman. That is massive right now. The Rangers, the Spearmen, they all have 0 melee attack right now, which is really bad for them. We do get a mighty roar go down, learn the leadership of the Skaven, but it's such a good situation for the Skaven due to that Rival Hide Talisman. Aspect Dread Knight goes down as well, trying to tear out the enemy. All of the High Elf goodies have been chucked in here to try to drag down the enemy. And it looks like the Eshin Sorcerer has been successfully terror-outed here, but the Assassin and Tretch are barely hanging on, though Tretch is terrified and could well indeed break here. The Archmage certainly wants to try to snipe as much as possible, and the triple hero core for the Skaven is all routing, which is a disaster for them right now. Now, do they have any chance of a comeback here? It's looking really bleak. for the Skaven in general, but we have 75 gutter runners and 68 night runners over in the distance, and it does look like Tretch is actually holding the line. The most treacherous and craven of them all is the only one left standing. The Etch and Sorcerer's going to get finished off, but it looks like a big misplay here. The Assassin has been let to go. He's going to be allowed to come back here, which is really bad news. It looks like they're all going after Tretch instead, and just trying to finish this battle now with the Archmage swooping in and doing some good damage. We'd love to see the Archmage get a little more aggressive and start cycle charging Tretch now, although it looks like they're coming out here to try to fend off the enemy skirmishes instead, with the Armor of Stars going down on the Archmage. But I certainly think taking out the enemy leadership would be the biggest boon, because that is what's going to cause all the problems for the High Elves. Now, we have an aspect of Dread Knight going down, which is going to cause terror, luckily, on all the forces of the Elves right now. Etch and Sorcerer not having a good time. The Assassin has popped Slippery, and Tretch is just about clinging on at the moment, at least. Stand or Die really buffing up the leadership and stopping any of those pesky terror routes. It is just the elite Skaven heroes fighting to the death, which is not something you often get to see. Normally, it's the Skaven who are overwhelming the elite High Elf forces, but not today. The Rahagra's Pride is also getting down and dirty, but there's a big chain route going on now for the forces of the High Elves. They start running in all different directions, and maybe the Skaven could pull this one back now. The Archmage is going to be coming in and dropping a cheeky little Spirit Leech down on the Assassin. Certainly not a bad target. The Archmage definitely needs to be fighting on all these troops. Instead, they are routing and running for their lives. In swoops the Archmage, and it's going to be trying to jump on the Assassin here to drag him down. And the Assassin is looking a little bit worse for wear. I've certainly seen Assassins with less broken bones, so, you know, hunting him down, not a bad play whatsoever. We do get an Assassin's Trophy go down on the Archmage, force him out of the fight for now. Booker Hoef, though, and Arcane Conduit going to be doing some lovely Winds of Magic regen for them. Etch and Sorcerer is fleeing for his life. He's really like, help me, flee, flee, you fools. And the Archmage should be enough to be able to drag him down there. In the main fight, Rangers are just slowly trying to carve their way through Gutter Runners. Stay here, I'll get help has been popped, though, by Tretch, which gives him Stalk and Unspottable, which is hilarious. And also it boosts up the leadership of these forces, making them fight even harder and even longer. Tretch going to be charging into the deep once more as more Rangers start to push in. We have a load more rallying troops for the High Elves here. We have Spearmen and the War Lines, but no Rahagra's Pride. That negative leadership would be so nice right now. Etch and Sorcerer has actually rallied down here, popping in early concealment bombs to ensure they don't get sniped, so they can actually come back and use some magic. The pesky Night Runners are dealing with the Archmage on the flank, though it looks like the Archmage will eventually win that fight. And we do get a big fat Brittle Bones go down. Brittle Bones, a very powerful Hexer, coming with negative 25 speed, 40 melee defense, and 9 vigor, is so powerful in general, but particularly in the later stages of the battle like we have now. The Assassin gets a Stand or Die, and he is fighting to the bitter end alongside his Liege Lord, Tretch Craventail, the greatest Skaven to ever live. I'm sure that at least that's what he will be claiming. Night Runners have been getting forced off, but the balance power is very heavily Skaven favoured now. The Archmage is certainly going to have to pull one out of nowhere if she wants to win this. Maybe a cheeky Spirit Leech on the Assassin will be enough to kill it, and an effective Cycle Charge on Tretch, if the other forces are coming back, may well be the only answer. But it looks like the Archmage has really busied themselves instead with trying to hunt down the enemy skirmishers and fear them off the battlefield and terror them off the battlefield with that aspect of the Dread Knight. We do get a Booker Hoef and Armor of Stars go down. The Archmage desperately trying to get back up into the skies. Assassin's Trophy has been popped. Looks like they should just about get out of the clutches of that pesky Assassin, but in come the Rangers and the Spearmen. The Archmage, Assassin's Trophies or not, is going to have to engage and try to turn the tide in this main fight. The Night Runner Slingers are going to be coming back. That could be rather problematic in general for the High Elves, who are still struggling to kill this Assassin. It only has 20 armor. There's so many swords around. You think it would have gone down by now, and it looks like it is actually just about eventually going to die. Another Verminous Valor does go down, sending Rangers and Spearmen jumping in all directions. Looks like Tretch did consider coming back here to try to help the Night Runners, but the Night Runners have been dealt with. Now, the Archmage has expended a lot of HP and a lot of time hunting these guys down, but it is taken off one of the main threats to itself whilst doing so, because, of course, Night Runners can shoot it from long range, whereas when you have Tretch, you can cycle charge him, but only if you have the infantry left, and we do not have that many units whatsoever. We have 14 Rangers in one unit. It looks like they're about to buckle, and 26 on the other unit. once again, we get Aspect of the Dread Knight come down, and a big slap onto Tretch, really going for that tear out win. It is the only way the High Elves can get back into this. Is it going to be enough? The Assassin pops Concealment Bombs. He's quite likely to be tear outed here, so you can either swoop in and finish him off, or you can go after Tretch and hope you get the tear out on the Assassin, which may be the only possible play. Looks like the Assassin does indeed die, and it is Tretch versus the world, the last Skaven standing. A load of Rangers are surrounding him. The Archmage can get some big hits in, but we have that anti-large. The Archmage is starting to waver and breaks, and the mighty Tretch Craventail is the greatest Skaven Lord in history. A very, very Pyrrhic victory by Coops there. Always love to see Coops and Cool Umbrella playing. Two really awesome guys. I've had it on the channel quite a bit before. Always bring some awesome builds and have some awesome games. Whew, that was a wild one for sure. Tretch Craventail there, 1,522 damage value and 97 kills. It is, I'm trying to wipe away a tear of joy right now. It's so awesome to see Tretch actually perform well in a battle and put on quite an impressive performance. Although I must admit, the Cool Umbrella's build did win my heart here with the triple war lines, who all put in an absolute shift today as well. At least 2 units did, doing some really lovely damage dealt and damage value. Speaking of which, I will delve into that all in just a second. But if you guys enjoyed this video before then, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and comment down below what you thought of the battle in general, or just scream Tretch's name if you think he is now officially the greatest Skaven Lord in history. Like a ton of links in the description. Twitch, Patreon, Discord. Discord is where you submit replays, just like Coops did here today, and get involved in live streams and events and all that good juicy stuff. But back to the battle. Let's go through the Skaven army first. 97 kills, 1.5k damage value. Tretch certainly had a fantastic day. The Eshin Sorcerer, only 52 damage value, but was popping spells left, right, and center. Really been a nice support role there for the Skaven. 500 damage value and 88 kills for the Assassin isn't fantastic, but that Rival High Talisman came just at the right time to be really clutch and turn the tides of battle against the High Elves. Triads, 189 damage value is pretty rough. 917 on the Death Runners though, and 1043 on the Death Squad is far better. 105 kills as well, being a pretty pivotal role in this victory. Ishka's Triads, 449 value. Not the best targets for them today, apart from the War Lines, and Cool Umbrella was microing them pretty damn effectively, but, you know, still held the enemy in place and allowed the other elements of the build to shine. 854 damage value on the Night Runner Slingers, 1043 and 829 value on the Gutter Runners with Poison. They're really quite a disgusting unit of 156 and 67 kills, the Chameleon Skinks of the Skaven realms. Wolf Rats got 58, 63, 41 and 0 kills with 1.1k damage value, 862, 542 and 41. Unfortunately, the Doomflayers kind of failed, only getting 240 value and 14 kills. As for Cool Umbrella's forces, the Archmage, 80 kills, 1,907 damage value. I love this idea of trying to, you know, make yourself cause terror and jumping down on the Skaven, but alas, it was not quite enough in the end. Spearmen did okay in the mid to low hundreds damage value-wise. They're simply there to hold the line. Rangers, on the other hand, 86, 62, 34, 35, and 33 kills with 1.1k damage value, 1,000 damage value, 660, 599, and 870. They all performed pretty admirably. Now, the War Lines, this unit flopped, 114 value on them and only 16 kills, but the other two performed amazing. 96 and 85 kills with just shy of 1.4k damage value and 1.2 on the Rahagras Pride. Unfortunately, the Bolt Throwers were just an investment that did not pay for themselves. There was no way they were going to against this opponent's build. 269, 97, 40, and 67 damage value is so bad, and it basically cost Cool Umbrella the game. He was certainly expecting a Mortar or Warp Lightning Cannon build from Coops, and being caught out there with that unfortunate roll of the dice does mean that he was always on the back foot, but despite that, fought back pretty damn hard and nearly sealed the deal at the end. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.